Fantasy time once again, Kyle. I don't know.
I
what
really
to
hope
say.
you've used these 2 weeks to kind of regroup here.
Well, saying that, if you are just tuning in for a new subscriber or you haven't been to the channel before, welcome to the fantasy segment where I lose and Kyle wins. And that has been the case for 12 consecutive races, as I cannot believe the bad luck I've had, specifically at New Hampshire, where it's raining and the two guys I have in my lineup, and specifically the one guy that I kind of took a risk on putting in, Kyle Busch, the pole sitter, wrecks on lap 6 because NASCAR was absolutely asleep at the wheel and did not throw a caution for the rain on the track because the pace car driver, Brett Bodine, says that the track was clear. So
just a reminder, that's one of 12.
Yeah, that's one of 12. I should have beat you at Nashville. Chase Elliott gets disqualified.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yeah. Okay. When this,
I should have beat you at Homestead, but
when this ship turns around on you, I can't wait for me to go on a run here, and I think it starts here this weekend because I've got so many damn usages.
Run for you is just winning once.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Just takes one, buddy. Just takes one. I just want the streak to end here, and I feel extremely confident coming into this weekend at Watkins Glen. I gotta say, but I don't know what you're thinking.
I give you a hard time, but you have had insanely bad luck these last few weeks. Like even Alex Bowman cutting a tire at Road America, and like everything that could possibly go wrong has gone wrong. But it's at the point now where if I win 2 races the rest of the way in fantasy, I at least tie you. So it's definitely been some tough sledding recently. But even with it being 12 straight, like I think I'm only up by just 140 points on the overall still. So it's been extremely, extremely close. But yeah, I do think we'll have very similar lineups here for Watkins Glen though.
The big thing that's different about this road course this weekend is that we don't have the Austin Cindric and the AJ Allmendinger coming in from the Xfinity Series this weekend.
Yep.
It's all the Cup Series guys that we have access to. I believe both of those guys are going to be in at the Indy road course next weekend, so they'll probably be in our lineups there, given their success so far. But for this weekend here at Watkins Glen, we're going with the guys that are the usual suspects in the Cup Series that are going to be running for the full-time points. So we're getting down to it at the end of the regular season here. 4 races left before the playoffs. Very, very intense stuff for a lot of these guys. And of course, with the Eric Almirola victory at New Hampshire, that stunned the entire competition in the Cup Series. I don't know where that came from. I don't know where he found this performance, but congratulations to Eric Almirola, who we've been extremely harsh on, and for good reason on this show. He upset all the haters and the doubters, and he's into the playoffs by some miracle based on this win and you're in format. So there's a flaw with it, definitely, when you look at the performance of what he's had so far this season and how he's into the playoffs right now.
Touch it.
I know, but I did want to address it before we get into the fantasy stuff. But that leaves the bubble battle now extremely tight between the RCR teammates of Tyler Reddick and Austin Dillon. So going to be an intense battle to the end of this season. Of course, Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick are still not quite locked in. Denny Hamlin's going to lock himself in on points, I'm sure of that. But Kevin Harvick, if he has a couple of bad weeks here, could be in a difficult situation. But given the road course prowess of Austin Dillon and Tyler Reddick, I think he should probably feel pretty safe going into the final 4 weeks before the playoffs at Darlington. So without further ado, Kyle, you lead us off for fantasy here at Watkins Glen. I'm looking forward to this one. What are you going to start us off with?
I mean, it's obvious who I start us off with, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's obvious. It's Chase Elliott. Like the guy is just so like, even if the road courses haven't been as dominant as maybe we thought they would be this season, even though they kind of they've been dominated by Chase Elliott to a certain extent, but it hasn't been like the blow the entire competition away, sweep everything, like maybe some of us unrealistically expected going into this year. Watkins Glen is that track for Chase Elliott. It's been such great battles with Martin Truex Jr., getting his first career win, getting that monkey off his back, having, I believe, the first perfect road course race where you sweep both stages and win the race, which is something that is especially difficult with the pit strategy and everything like that goes into stage breaks and stuff like that. So Chase Elliott, all season long, we've been saving the usages for road courses, and we get them here coming to the end of the regular season. So Chase Elliott, absolutely my leadoff guy for my team. And I've got 3 usages left on him. One of those absolutely being used here at Watkins Glen.
How many usages did you just say? How many?
3.
You got, okay, same. Chase Elliott, of course, going to be in my lineup as well.
Yeah.
The last 2 races here, he's won. So I don't see any reason why you wouldn't put him in. And he's led a whopping 132 laps led over those 2 races. And let's not forget, there's only 90 laps per Watkins Glen race.
Yeah. And for whatever it matters, if it does for you, he also leads the Cup Series in points gained at road courses this year as well, with a 42.75 average per race.
If there was any doubt, I think those numbers should help.
If there was any doubt, I don't think I have to bust out the numbers for Chase Elliott here, but if I do, there they are.
Yeah, he starts 11th on Sunday as well. So going to be interesting to see how quickly he works his way up through the field this time around. Usually starts at very high up the field when we are starting here at Watkins Glen with qualifying. But on this occasion, of course, due to his kind of lack of performance at New Hampshire, he's definitely down the totem pole in terms of where he's going to be starting, but it shouldn't take too long before Chase Elliott is back up there. And we've seen that throughout the season. He hasn't quite come out of the gates flying, but he does methodically work his way up. So it's probably not going to be a 60-point weekend for Chase Elliott, but you can basically bet that he's going to be in contention for the win.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course at Road America we saw him start from the back and come all the way up. So it's not 11th is nothing for him based off of last time.
Exactly, and there's plenty of opportunity for pit strategy at road courses as we've seen. So I don't think it'll take long for Chase Elliott to get up there.
And that's something to keep in mind as well, because it's going to be interesting to see who takes those stage points and who goes for the pit strategy and whatnot. Because we saw last time out at Road America where Tyler Reddick came out and had the most points of the weekend, even though he wasn't necessarily like the top 5 guy all race long or anything like that.
He got the stage point game.
He got the stage points and had a solid top 10 finish with that as well. And for that was a good fantasy play. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind as well, because some of these guys that maybe aren't the number 1 race favorites might play that point strategy and end up being very good fantasy plays as well.
Definitely. So yeah, Chase Elliott is my first selection, as is Kyle's. And I'm sure you probably have the next guy in. Martin Truex Jr. is in my lineup. I've got 2 usages left on the 19 car, and it's unfortunate that I kind of had to use them last time out at New Hampshire with the issue on lap 6. But 2 usages left. I still feel comfortable with him in the kind of last remaining stretch here at that usage at that usage number. Of course, finishing second to Chase Elliott both of the last 2 races here. So has been very, very close, just right on the verge of missing out on that victory here at Watkins Glen. Only has 5 laps led over the last 2 races, but that's because Chase Elliott has basically led every other lap. So he starts 9th on Sunday as well. So just that little bit better track position than Chase Elliott. Hasn't had the 2021 in terms of road course results we were expecting from Martin Truex Jr., but he's probably going to be in contention here. I don't know if he's going to be in the race win conversation. He'll be top 5, I'd say, but being up there with the Hendrick guys and maybe even like a Kyle Busch or a Joey Logano might be a little bit too much to ask given the results prior in the season on the road courses. But this is a really good place for Martin Truex Jr. It has been his entire career. He has an average finish over his career of 10.64, so a top 10 average finisher in his career here at Watkins Glen. So no doubt in my mind that he's going to be a very serious contender. We'll see if he can actually get the job done, though, and actually fight in the top 2 or 3, which has been a little bit scarce of recent results here in that summer stretch here where they've kind of struggled.
Yeah, Truex has been disappointing on the road courses this year. You can remove Coda because that was complete fluke, but the Daytona road course, he kind of cost himself wheel hopping into turn 1 on one of those late restarts. But Sonoma, he was good, but wasn't contending for the lead or win like we maybe thought he would. And Road America, he kind of was a little bit out to lunch the entire weekend and still got a top 10, but wasn't at all in the conversation for the top 5 or win or anything like that the entire weekend. So for Truex, if they're to turn around on the road courses this year, Watkins Glen is the place that they're going to do it. I will add the caveat, though, that the last time that we were at Watkins Glen, Cole Pearn was still crew chief of Martin Truex Jr. So that is a big question mark as to whether the Cole Pearn setups and stuff were just that good for Truex that he could be that good. what's going on with James Small because the road course results haven't been as good this year. But if it's going to turn around with James Small and everything like that on road courses this year, and just kind of their luck in general on road courses is going to be this weekend. So I've got him in there as well. Let's double check. Yeah, I've got 3 usages left on him as well. Again, a guy that I've been saving for the road courses for maybe a little bit regrettably this season, just because that early stretch
you played him more earlier.
So good. Kind of wish I played him a little bit more there, but with some of the stuff like Coda, I have saved a usage here there. Do have the extra ones coming down the end of the stretch. So he's got to be in the lineup just because of how good he's been here in the past. I don't know if he maybe reaches that same peak as you kind of mentioned as well, but he's obviously going to be one of those names that is in that conversation for the win, at least going into things.
Definitely. You go with your next one here, number 3.
Next one, number 3 for myself, and keeping it nice and chalk for this first little bit. Joey Logano is my next entry. Has been very strong on the road courses this year. Was a little bit quieter at Road America, but I'll let the one pass a little bit here. Has had the second most points gained this season on road courses. Had a great run at the Daytona road course, almost won the race, finished second, had a very strong run at Circuit of the Americas, and had a strong run at Sonoma as well. And this is somebody that's had a bit up and down career on road courses, but this year the form's been very good. This team in general has put a ton of emphasis on the 750 horsepower package, and I think that's carried over from the regular ovals package into some road course success as well for this team with this package. And so Joey Logano, again, he's had up and down success on road courses to this point in his career, but I think the form this season, Road America, maybe a little bit excluded, has been too good to kind of overlook. And for Joey Logano, I've got 2 usages left, but again, given kind of where they've been at this season, I feel fairly confident going with some of the more veteran drivers this weekend at a road course like Watkins Glen, where they have the experience, versus Indianapolis in a week's time, where we have the practice and everything like that. So the advantage that drivers like Joey Logano or Martin Truex Jr. or Chase Elliott have over some of the younger guys that maybe could be some value plays, I think is going to be more prevalent here at Watkins Glen than it will in a week's time. So Joey Logano also in my lineup.
Yep, I'm going to match you on that. No surprise here. I've had him basically tag for this race for quite some time. I think he's an underrated guy here at Watkins Glen. Has had some poor results the last couple of times we've been here, but I don't know if that's necessarily by his own fault. I think there was some mechanical issues and stuff like that that have halted his success here at Watkins Glen. But he is a former race victor here back in 2015. So he has had success
again, that
here.
Speaks to the kind of up and down that it's been.
Exactly. I've got 3 usages left on the 22 car. Okay. Average finish left or average finish in his career here at Watkins Glen, because I didn't want to look at the last couple of times he's been here. In his career, it's a 16.91 average finish, but the 1 victory and 3 top 5s have kind of led me to having a little bit more of a positive outlook, and his success so far this season on road courses in the 750 horsepower package is a no-brainer for me this weekend. And he starts second. Very, very good track position for the 22 car. They are a team that usually goes for stage points as well. So hopefully he's up there in the mix for a stage victory in that early portion of the race, if all things go according to plan. Of course, it's a Penske 1, 2, 3 come Sunday as well at the start of the grid. So they're going to have plenty of forces up at the front of the field to try and block everything that is behind them. And you know, those Penske cars, they are pretty good at trying to keep everything behind them, unless it's Joey Logano and Brad Kizlovsky on the final lap of the Daytona 500. So Joey Logano, 4th entry in, or 3rd entry into my lineup.
And just finally here on Joey Logano, another important point that I forgot is we don't have any of those 750 ovals the remainder of this regular season. We've got 2 road courses, 550 package race at Michigan, and then Daytona as well. So if you've got 1 usage, maybe you consider which road course you want to play it on. But if you've got 2 or more, I think you definitely look at the 2 road courses as being the value plays. Maybe you stretch it to Daytona, but that is such a wild card that maybe you feel comfortable about getting some value elsewhere. Definitely wouldn't have them as a play at Michigan, just given kind of the form that they've been in with this 550 package this season, to say the least. But Joey Logano, absolutely a play on the road courses here, especially with the remainder of this regular season.
Yeah, for sure. Next guy.
I think this is where it starts to get more interesting.
Well, I think for you, I think you're very limited here. And I'm curious to see if
I say that just because of usage situations. I think number 4, it gets more interesting with usages.
Yeah, that's why I'm going with a guy that I have 3 usages left on. Unfortunately, due to New Hampshire, Kyle Busch. I could not be more confident in Kyle Busch this weekend if I tried. This is going to be a very good weekend for Kyle Busch. This is a track that he has had so much success at, and he kind of just blows it either by the team or some sort of mistake, or he gets into some sort of scuffle with somebody. Yeah. And there is a lot of different things that have prevented Kyle Busch from having like 4 wins at this track. I would say he's only got the one. So
that is kind of crazy to think about that he's only got the one.
Yeah. 2008 was the last time he won at Wacker. No, 2. Sorry. He's got 2 wins here. Excuse me. 2013 and 2008. So the last time he won here was 2013. Yes, it's been a very, very long time for Kyle Busch since he's won here, but he's been in contention basically every single weekend. And if he didn't have problems, I think the last 2 times, whether that was the William Byron scuffle last time out and the Bubba Wallace thing.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that.
And the time prior to that, he had the fuel issue on pit road. And
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Man.
Here we go.
Sorry.
Save your Kyle Busch opinions for yourself, because this is a Kyle Busch hate-free zone right now.
Okay.
I'm on the clock. So I've got 3 usages left on Rowdy. Average finish of the last 2 times we've been here is 7th. I think the 2018 race was where he was, of course, Chase Elliott's first career victory. He was the guy that could have rivaled Chase Elliott in that race based off of pace. He actually was ahead of Chase Elliott at the time of the 3rd stage break, but then had a fuel issue that prevented him from competing. He drove up from about the mid-20s to 3rd on that final run because it went green the final stage. So was an incredible comeback for him there. Just a methodical driver on the road courses, has been that way very, very much the entire season. And I think he's going to be one to be reckoned with. The only pause on him this weekend, he starts 20th due to finishing last at New Hampshire. So he's going to have to work his way up to the field, keep his nose clean. That would be nice. If that would be just one thing I ask of Kyle Busch in the opening part of this race, keep it clean. Don't force anything. You're going to get up to the front. You have a fast enough car. He's got 31 laps of the second most out of anybody behind Chase Elliott, of course, over the past 2 races here specifically. So this is a huge weekend for Kyle Busch. I think he's going to do very, very well. And it's going to be, I think, Chase Elliott's main competitor to victory lane here this weekend in Watkins Glen, New York. So he is my 4th selection for my lineup.
The one thing that gives me pause with Kyle Busch this weekend is that pit strategy game. And something where I see that team probably punting on the stage points and needing a good finish to get that good points haul. So I do have some concern with that a little bit, but I've got the 1 usage left, and I am going to put him in the lineup this weekend.
You're not going to save him for the 550? Holy smokes.
I'm not, because I feel pretty good about some of the names that I have available later on for Michigan. So for Kyle Busch, I wanted to have that extra one for Michigan. But with the way that the form has been recently, I ended up playing a little bit heavier than I maybe anticipated. It's obviously worked out pretty well because I've won 12 straight races. But I honestly, going into this weekend, I thought I was going to save him for Michigan, but I ended up looking at the usages that I have. And I think that it's better for me to use a Kyle Busch usage at Watkins Glen, or at least put him in the lineup and give me the option to play him versus saving him for Michigan. So for myself, as reiterating a lot of what you said, Kyle Busch has been great here. He's been great on road courses this season. His average points haul is dragged down because of the Daytona road course. But if you exclude that, he's got an average points haul of 39 points the last 3 road course races, all of which inside the top 10, and some very strong results. Coda would have been even better if it wasn't for the weird timing of the pit strategy and then the race being called because of rain, everything like that. Sonoma was a very good run. Road America top 10 there as well. So feel good about Kyle Busch this weekend. Mainly a defensive play on my part. I look at these next upcoming races, and I feel like Watkins Glen could be that one where Kyle Busch has that big enough points haul over the rest to where, or good enough finish over the rest to where I need to play him here this weekend. It's going to be tough to play defense against the 3 usages that you've got left on Kyle Busch here. But I feel good about him this weekend versus the usages that I've got for some of the other drivers that I have, like for example, like a Brad Keselowski or Ryan Blaney. I'd feel more comfortable with them using him somewhere else versus a Watkins Glen. So as risky as it may be, putting him in the lineup here with that 1 usage left, going to be very, very interesting to see whether I do end up using him if they don't get the stage points, stuff like that. But I feel like I got to play defense here at a track that he's been so talented at.
Alrighty. I think you got one more here. And then
I have one more. I wanted to see if you had anything to add in after I did match you on that
I'm satisfied with my Kyle Busch statement. I think he's going to be good.
Okay. To number 5 now. And I think I'll go with this one first. And this is a guy
for the big finale here, folks.
Well, it's mainly playing a little bit of defense because I don't want to get boxed into a scenario where we have like the same 6, and so I have the last pick, so I have to pivot. Don't want to necessarily do that. So I actually am going to change it. I'm going to go with this guy first. Got 3 usages left. Again, this isn't a guy that I thought that I was going to be super heavy on this year, but it surprised me a little bit. And that's Alex Bowman. He's been very consistent on the road courses this season. Of course, the unfortunate scenario at Road America prevented him from getting another top 10. But with that, had that not happened for Suarez, you would have won that weekend, but he would also be the only person in the Cup Series to have top 10s at each road course so far this season. Top 10 at the Daytona road course, top 10 at Circuit of the Americas, very strong top 10 at Sonoma, and would have been in line for right around a top 5 even at Road America, the way things were trending there at the end. So Alex Bowman, very consistent so far this season. The Hendrick Powers looked very good on the road courses as well. 3 usages left. Don't feel too badly about that. So Alex Bowman will be my 5th entry to the lineup here.
Okay. Okay. I like to swing on Bowman. I didn't have him in my lineup. So,
interesting. I thought you would have.
No,
a little trigger shy after what happened last time.
No, I think I have better options elsewhere than Bowman here this weekend.
Okay.
And it's his Hendrick teammate for this next one. Kyle Larson is in the lineup at Watkins Glen. Okay. I feel really, really good about Kyle Larson this weekend, namely because this is a track he's done.
How many usages?
2. I've got 2 left. Okay. So hence here and Michigan. That's where I'm going to be using him. There's no beat around the bush with that. But average finish in his career here, 13.67. And I think this is an important note. The last time the Cup Series was here at Watkins Glen, this was also Kyle Larson's last time here as well. He did not miss a race last season. He's on a similar playing field and the same playing field as everybody else in the field. When it comes to this track with the last time the sport was here. Average finish, like I said, 13.67 in his career, 3 top 10s, 6 laps led. He starts 4th, has done very, very well on the road courses so far this season in terms of performance, of course, winning at Sonoma. And I think this is the comparable for me, Sonoma and Watkins Glen. Sonoma, a very good qualifier there. Put the race together, did a full 60-point swing there at Sonoma. This is a place he qualifies very well at as well. I think he's going to put the whole race together. I don't think it's going to be 60 points, but I think it's going to be a very, very good weekend for Kyle Larson. And in his rookie season, he finished inside the top 5 here. So this has been a track from the very beginning, back in 2014, a track that he has had very good success at, no matter what kind of level he's at in his career in the Cup Series. So feel really good about him. 9th best average finish amongst active drivers as well. So considering his performance so far this season, I feel like I have to play him here. And I've got 2 usages left. I'm not really worried about that. I don't think I'll use him at Indy road course. If he doesn't do well here, then maybe I'll look at that. You never know, but I'm not leaving a usage on the table and waiting for something to happen. I'm pouncing on it. I'm getting a race, trying to get a fantasy victory here this weekend. And I think Kyle Larson is in good track position there to try and get himself in that race win category. Stage points don't really matter to him, or getting that extra bonus point. That race victory matters. So hopefully he gets within that top 5 range at the end of this one on Sunday. So that's 5. This is my worst. This is my least favorite selection of them all because I have to go first here for this last pick. But at least we're not going to have to worry about having the same kind of thing here in terms of our lineups with having all 6, because I didn't have Bowman in. So that feels like a little bit of a weight off my shoulders a little bit. But for the 6th selection here, there's a lot of different guys I feel like I could go with for it. I feel really solid about my top 5. Brad Kizlovsky, very good bet here, I think, this weekend. Has been an underrated road course racer. And at Watkins Glen, this is his best road course by far. This is a track that he finished second 3 consecutive times back in the 2011 to 2013 seasons there. Been very, very consistent here over his entire career. And he's starting on pole on Sunday. So a nice little bet there. Denny Hamlin could be an interesting one. Got a limited usage situation, namely only having one usage left on Denny Hamlin right now, so I won't be going with him. Kurt Busch, this is another one for me here. I'm deciding between Brad Keselowski and Kurt Busch because they're both pretty compatible in terms of their success here at this track. They've had their highs and they've had their lows, and it's a difficult one to try and pinpoint which one would be best coming into this weekend. But looking off of previous numbers here and everything kind of going into one and the momentum the teams are on, I think I'm going to go with the Penske route. Brad Keselowski is going to be in my lineup as the sixth and final selection. I would love to go with Kurt Busch here this weekend, but the track position is just too good for me to deny here at Watkins Glen with Brad Keselowski. I don't know. I think that momentum that we saw at New Hampshire could be a good thing for him, finishing inside the top 5 there. Really needed something like that to kickstart the second half of the season for them. And this is a track that Penske's been pretty solid at over their tenure. So despite the lack of pace maybe on the road courses from Brad so far this season, I think they'll try and pick it up. A top 10 is definitely within a manageable expectation for that team this weekend, considering their previous results. But man, it's tough to turn down Kurt Busch here. I feel really good about him this weekend, but having that track position here, trying to get that early stage points if they go for that with Brad Keselowski could be key with winning fantasy this weekend. So he's my final entry. That's the 6th pick.
I will say that you put me in a little bit of a pickle here. I'm not going to lie. Gonna lie. I wanted to go with my last one for somebody that I felt good about maybe trying to get those stage points and getting big stage points with your lineup. I'm tempted to swing on another driver, even if the usage situation isn't how I'd want it to be.
Of course you are.
I am going to hold firm. I'm not going to pull a Lukas and switch my strategy because of something that you've done. I am going to stick with it. I will say that I did type it in just now that I was going to switch it to William Byron. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it as what I originally had. I was tempted to switch it to Byron, but I didn't want to have two guys that I had one usage left on going in to this race and having to burn one if something went wrong for both of them. So for my final one here, it's a pretty big swing. I'm not going to lie. It's somebody that I actually haven't used at all this season in terms of usages. I've got 10 for 10 remaining.
I really hope I'm right here, I think.
But big fan of the form that they've been in recently. They don't got the pressure anymore of what they're doing next season. And 3 straight top 10s at road courses. Rosh Chastain is in my lineup here. The one thing that gives me pause is that 2019 is the last time that we've been to Watkins Glen. And that means that Rosh Chastain hasn't really had that top or better tier equipment to go to Watkins Glen. And he didn't go here in that short stint with Chip Ganassi Racing and Xfinity. Of course, didn't go here last year with Colleague Racing. And of course, didn't do it with Nice Motorsports because the Truck Series didn't go to Watkins Glen at that time. But Rosh Chastain, over the last 3 road courses, if you exclude the Daytona road course at the beginning of the year where he got wrecked out by Ryan Blaney, was kind of still finding his footing there. The last 3 road courses, 36.67 points. Each of those races has been in very, very good form, has gotten some stage points as well. Most recently at Road America. Actually at Road America was the second highest point scoring driver that race. Big fan of Chip Ganassi's form recently. I like the announcement coming this weekend. He's got some very, very good passing numbers on road courses his entire Cup Series career, starting 12th, which is kind of in that kind of middle ground. But I'm going to be a believer of Rosh Chastain this weekend. He's going to be my number 6 and trying to swing on some stage points there for Mr. Chastain.
Wow. I was not expecting that swing from you here this weekend, but I like it. I do like the swing on Rosh Chastain. It's a good wave of momentum. I kind of got a little bit of a hint earlier on in the show. It seemed like you were kind of like looking at him as well. You kind of gave a little bit of a nice little hint, but yeah. It's a good one. I think he's an underrated play this weekend, and those damn underrated plays are usually the ones that where you get me. So I'm nervous, but
yeah. So just for example, if you remove the Daytona road course, because it was the beginning of the year, had the weird finish, everything like that, the top 5 point scorers on road courses this season: number 1, Kyle Larson; number 2, Chase Elliott; number 3, Kyle Busch; number 4, Joey Logano; and number 5, Rosh Chastain. So And after that as well, after Chastain is Reddick and Kurt Busch as well. So those three have kind of been the more be good in top 10 potential, but also get those stage points. And that kind of shows up there being ahead of some guys like Denny Hamlin or Martin Truex Jr. that you would expect to be a little bit higher up.
Yeah, definitely. Oh boy, this is.
I do like your lineup though.
Thank you.
I didn't know that you had the second Kyle Larson usage left. I should have remembered that because, of course, I ended up using him in the Daytona 500 because of the randomizer, and it actually worked out well because I did win that. Thank you very much. But
yeah, everybody was out from me on lap 16, basically in the big one. So
hate to see it, but yeah,
no, you don't.
Larson really does scare me this weekend. I will say that.
I really hope that something that scares you for once bites you in the ass, because I've been saving these damn usages and I want them to actually work out.
You've been saving too many of them. I won 12 damn straight.
That's the problem here. Like, I haven't decided when to pounce. And then when I have decided to pounce, they've just had an issue or something like that.
Your ideal scenario is just saving them to the end of the regular season and just having them.
I'm too much of a scaredy cat with usages. I've got a next season. I'm going more aggressive, I think, out of the gate. Okay, I can't beat around the bush. So,
and then you're going to get to the end of the regular season. You're going to have nothing.
Yeah. It's just, there's a no-win situation for me here.
Yeah,
but let's take a look at the honorable mentions and the stay away from here for Watkins Glen. I mentioned a couple of them already. Denny Hamlin, Kurt Busch. I still feel really good about those two. I think even more so on Kurt Busch than I do for Denny Hamlin this weekend, but you never know on that front. Alex Bowman, of course, you've talked about him in your lineup as well, so don't need to really talk about him anymore, but definitely a good top 10, I would say, is on the cards. Back half of the top 10 for Alex Bowman, if I were to guess, but could be an interesting play there. Ryan Blaney was the one Penske car I did not put in my lineup this weekend. I think he could be an interesting play. I don't know what to expect from Blaney.
They just haven't been fast on road courses recently. I know. I think he's definitely got the potential to break through, but he's kind of at the point now where I need to see it before I believe it again on road courses. And I don't think it's a talent thing. I think it's a speed thing. Yeah. And I don't get why, because Joey Logano's had speed, so I don't know why the other two maybe haven't. I don't know why Todd Gordon as well has been a really good road course crew chief as well in his career. It might be a set of things specifically for Blaney and what he likes, but you look at his career and there's been some really high moments. Like, he won the first Roval race and of course the chaos at the end, but you had to be running third to win that race, and he was there. Has had good results at Watkins Glen in the past, but he's a name I'm watching this weekend, because you would expect them to turn it around at some point on road courses, but they've been really, really bad.
Yeah, definitely. This next guy, I'm kind of surprised you don't have in your lineup. It's Christopher Bell. Because he finished well in the Xfinity Series when he was here. Of course, hasn't had a Cup Series start here, but this is a pretty decent track for him. He took to the road course very well here, back in his Xfinity Series days. He could be a really interesting play. Been on a nice swing of momentum here, and I think that'll do him very well coming down the stretch. Really needs that going into the playoffs. Of course, has 2 second-place finishes over the last 3 races as well, so been in good form. Adam Stevens and him are starting to click, so could be a nice one. Finished second, of course, at Road America, the last road course we were at as well. So interested to see Bell this weekend. He's definitely one to keep my eye on, because Adam Stevens has been so good here with Kyle Busch in terms of getting that setup correct. So let's see if they can get it out of the gate here with Christopher Bell. But another one here, when you're starting to talk about the no usage thing, I was like, oh man, is he going to go for a big swing here on Daniel Suarez? And because he's got really good numbers here, but you didn't. You went with Rosh Chastain, which is probably the safer bet and the better bet. But Daniel Suarez, I'm going to throw him in here as an honorable mention, just because his numbers here are actually pretty damn solid in his Cup Series career. Has got an average finish of the last 2 races, specifically of 10.5. And I believe over his career, it's an average finish of 8th. So really good numbers for Daniel Suarez here so far in the Cup Series. So could an interesting candidate to keep your eye on there. An interesting maybe top 13 kind of bet for Suarez or something around that range could be within reach for Trackhouse, especially coming off of this announcement there with Rosh Chastain. The momentum's running high with that team. They're starting to pick up some steam, and he's not going to make the playoffs unless there's some fluke win for him, but has been a very solid candidate so far to get the 13th to 18th place finishes so far this season. Next up, Rosh Chastain. You light it out perfectly for yourself there. Why he's an honorable mention. Got some really good results here over the past couple of road courses. So I'm a little bit nervous about that play. I don't know what to expect from him, but if he does turn it on and he does get in the top 10 and spice things up like Rosh Chastain tends to do, I'm worried that one of my guys, the big heavy hitters, is going to be at the disappointing end of that exchange if there is something like that, because he's not afraid to move anybody out of the way. So I would not be surprised if it's some sort of Kyle Larson where it's something different on the final lap and he gets bulldozed and Chastain ends up giving you the fantasy win in the week. But the final two for the honorable mentions, Tyler Reddick, just because of his previous road course success here and being in that really tight bubble race, he needs to get those stage points as much as he can. And I'm going to give a quick shout out to Eric Jones. This is his best road course by far. He's got really good numbers here. The best average finish amongst active drivers. I know it's only a really small scale, only 3 races for him in the Cup Series, but a 6.33 average finish so far in all JGR equipment and in the of course Furniture Row equipment is very, very good for Eric Jones so far in his career here at Watkins Glen. And let's not forget, he's running the Xfinity Series race this weekend. So I'm going to make sure that he gets a shout out on that front, because I love when guys run the Xfinity Series race. They usually perform in the Cup Series race. It is a proven fact, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm very happy to put Eric Jones as the last honorable mention. The stay away froms. This is an interesting one because it's a guy that you almost had in your lineup here. I'm putting William Byron in here as a stay away from, because his road course results this year have been shocking. It's been a really brutal stretch for him in 2021 for the road courses.
A lot of bad luck on the road courses.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm in a situation where I have 1 usage left on the 24 car, and this is not the place I feel where I can use them. And I think if you have 2-3 usages left on Byron, I think I'm a bit of a head scratcher on why you have that many usages left on him, given his performances so far. But if you have that many usages, play him. See what he can do this weekend. He's definitely worth it.
I'd say yes. If you've got one, really depends on who you have left. But yeah, he's got that high on potential, but just hasn't been able to put it together this year, whether from bad luck or poor form or anything like that. So
this is a track where he's done very well qualifying as well, single lap speed. So as he's kind of matured as a Cup Series driver over the past 2 seasons, he may have refined that racecraft a bit on the road courses where he can get that more consistent pace. And we'll see what happens with William Byron this week. And he's a curious one, bit of a question mark surrounding him in terms of his performances. Went into this summer break here on a bit of a slump, no finishes inside that top 10 where he finished like 11 straight weeks. So it's trending downwards for Byron, but I'm sure they'll pick it up here in this final stretch before the playoffs begin. Austin Dillon. I mean, the reason
there really
I keep
isn't much to say.
I know, but just... if I have to mention him though, because he's in this really tight playoff bubble now. Like if Eric Almirola doesn't win at New Hampshire, I don't even mention him here this weekend. But now that they have pressure on them, I think the advantage swings to Tyler Reddick because of his road course ability compared to the likes of Austin Dillon. So definitely an interesting battle there as the RCR teammates try and battle this out down the stretch here.
Over these next 2 weeks, there could legitimately be a 60-point swing, just given 100%. Austin Dillon and his lack of performance on road courses over his career versus some of those other bubble guys who have been strong at road courses in their careers. And the entire season, I've been a little bit wary of this second half of the regular season where we get a lot of road courses, which is something we haven't seen. And Austin Dillon potentially being in a tougher situation. Now, he was in a better point situation going into this stretch than I thought he would be, but with a surprise winner like Almirola, suddenly he's on that bubble again. And he's going to need to just kind of hold serve here these next couple of weeks and then go to Michigan, have a good race, and then go to Daytona and kind of pull something out of a hat there. But definitely a name to watch for the bubble. Not necessarily a name to watch in terms of being in the top 10 conversation.
Absolutely not. And the final one, Kevin Harvick. He's not a road racer, and that's basically as plain as I can put it. This is just not a track for him. Despite him having decent success here in his career on road courses, I mean, he's got an average finish of 12.95 here. I just haven't seen the road course speed from them this season to think that that's even a worthy addition to your lineup here this weekend, considering the other options if you have the usages. So I can't put him in my lineup. He's nowhere near consideration for me, despite having a decent starting position where it is in 5th. I mean, that's good track position for him. Maybe he scrapes a couple of stage points here, but the big players are going to come to play at the end of this one. And I don't think Kevin Harvick is going to be in that mix of the big names at the front of this field come the checkered flag on Sunday. So those are the stay away froms. Those are the honorable mentions. Bonus picks. Boy, this is going to be interesting to see where we go on this front. But you lead us off, Top Chevrolet.
Yeah. I think the bonus picks are actually going to be kind of straightforward or chalky. I don't know, unless you go off the board a little bit. But I don't think there's any too big of surprises here. But I think
we'll have the
Chevrolet.
Manufacturers and everything correct. Like, I think that's going to be pretty much the same.
Chevrolet, Chase Elliott, not much to say else. You can look to a Kyle Larson or anything for value. I think that's an interesting swing, but I'm not going to bet against Chase Elliott at this track.
Nope, me neither. Chase Elliott, Top Chevrolet. You know, this next one is just such a bugger. You know what I mean? Like, this guy drives me nuts with this category. I'm going to pick Joey Logano, and he's not going to be the top Ford finisher because I swear to God, like 90% of the times I do this, he's not the top Ford finisher. But given the options available in that Ford camp this weekend, I feel the most confident with him on a road course. The thing.
Yeah, like if it's not going to be him, who is it? Right? Like
something has to happen at Logano.
Chase Briscoe? Like
maybe?
But
I don't think so.
Watkins Glen hasn't gone he was in the ARCA race, for crying out loud. Like, that's how much experience he has at this racetrack or something like. So no, I'm going Joey Logano for this one as well. He's just that much ahead of the rest of the Ford drivers in terms of, like, if Ryan Blaney had been in better form on road courses recently, I'd consider that as a swing, but like, it's just like a chasm for myself in terms of the likelihood of top Ford finisher. It's like Joey Logano and then everybody else. And so like, if it was Joey Logano versus the rest of the Ford field, I'm still taking Joey Logano. So like, well, that's basically the best way to put it. Toyota is an interesting one. It comes down to Truex and Kyle Busch for myself, but I am going to take the swing on Kyle Busch for this one. Just the form for Truex just hasn't been there so far this season on the road courses to that same extent. Kyle Busch has had 3 very, very strong results in a row. So I'm going to take the swing on him here and try and really maximize it, because maybe he doesn't get those stage points, but has the good finish. So maybe hoping for an extra 5 here with that.
Yeah, if I didn't make it clear enough earlier, I'm going with Kyle Busch here for top Toyota. This is a really good track for him, man. And I can't overstate that enough. So I feel really good about him getting in that mix for the victory this weekend. I hope he does, obviously, but he's going to be one to be reckoned with. I think once he gets up to the front of the field, as long as he keeps it clean, getting up to the field, he'll be up there in contention for this race victory. Winning manufacturer. I mean, I would love to go with something else. You know, I would love to be ballsy, and I would love to go with something.
Let's just get through it.
Chevrolet. Because of the Chase Elliott pick. And it's crazy to think that he's so predictable, or it's so predictable that he could most likely win here this weekend, but that's just the scenario of it. That's just the realism of Chase Elliott dominating on road courses and not really giving anybody else a chance to be even competitive with him on many occasions. So winning manufacturer, Chevrolet.
Yep, Chevrolet and Hendrick for the organization. And it's Chase Elliott being the clear favorite, but it's not just that, having won the 2 races previously. It's Kyle Larson. It's even stretching to Alex Bowman or even William Byron, even them being long shots to win, but they're still in that conversation as being potential winners if you go down kind of past like the top 5 favorites or anything like that. Like there's a believable world where they win it. And it's not the case for some of these other manufacturers or organizations that have 4 cars. It's just clearly above the rest, whether it's the season as a whole, even though that form has dipped recently on road courses, anything like that. Chevy, Hendrick, easy as it is.
I would love to. I'm really debating here on whether I don't go Joe Gibbs, you know, because honestly,
are you really?
I'm serious because
I feel like you'd probably be gifting me 10 points.
I mean, I probably should just match you on it. So I'll match you on Hendrick, but That's a 50-50 for me here this weekend.
Really?
Yeah. I do think Chase Elliott is going to have some competition here this weekend, and it's going to come from the Joe Gibbs Racing.
Yeah, no, I'm
stable.
not saying it's going to be a cakewalk, but if I'm playing the odds games, looking at the 4 drivers that Hendrick has versus the 4 drivers that Joe Gibbs has, it's not even close for me. Even if Kyle Busch, I do think is going to have a good weekend.
Interesting. I think it's going to be. I think they're pretty comparable. Like
I think the main thing for me is that Kyle Busch isn't in my top 2 this weekend. I've got a different driver as my top 2.
Okay. Interesting on that front, but that'll do it for the bonus picks there that we have to do, except for the race winner, which we'll get to in a second here. Truck Series winner here this weekend. Regular season finale. Can somebody outside that playoff bubble upset the field? No. But I'm curious to see who comes in and maybe upsets the field if
it's
they're
not
doing
an upset.
a one-off. I'm going to leave you AJ Allmendinger for this one.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, I guess.
I think it's going to be a little bit too tough of a task to maybe get up there and win the Truck Series race. I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit off on that.
I think you're underestimating or overestimating starting position, but
no, it's not necessarily starting position. It's just the terms of the number of laps that they have to try and get to the front of the field there. And I think there's some pretty good road racers in the Truck Series where they could maybe do something with him. And of course, this is not a vehicle he's accustomed to in the trucks, but I definitely think he's going to be the favorite for the Xfinity Series race, which we'll probably take for the next pick. But for this one, I would love to go with I'm going to go with Kaz Grala. Screw it. Let's just try it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm here for that.
I think that if anybody's going to maybe rival Allmendinger, it could be him. I know the equipment may just not be quite good enough there this weekend to compete with some of the top guys. Like I think Ben Rhodes could be an interesting play this weekend for the race winner pick because of his equipment first off and his success on the road courses so far this season. But I'm going to go with Kaz Grala. This is a guy that's done very, very well in his Truck Series starts, Xfinity starts, and Cup Series start on the road courses. So no brainer for me to try and give him a shot here. No points on the line. Let's see what we can do with Kaz Grala in the O2 there.
So I am going to take AJ Allmendinger. And there's a couple reasons. Going to Watkins Glen, most of this field doesn't have experience here, and nobody has experience here with this vehicle as well. So that's a big factor for me. AJ Allmendinger maybe going somewhere else that the Truck Series has gone, and there's some other drivers there that have the experience on that track with this car. Maybe I would have been more apprehensive, but he's going in with as much experience in this vehicle at this track as everybody else. It is kind of funny to look, though, that his last Truck Series race was in the Craftsman Truck Series in 2008. So it's been a hot minute to say the least. But for AJ here, I'm super, super pumped to see him in that 23 truck, just mainly to see what that truck actually has, because it's not been too hot this season with Chase Purdy there. Should be fun with Allmendinger filling in for that one. And again, that Truck Series has got a lot of fun entries this weekend. Definitely tune in to the Truck Series return to Watkins Glen on Saturday, because you've got some fun young names making either first starts or one of their first starts in the series. When you look at Corey Heim, Taylor Gray, those kind of guys, you've got the one-offs like Allmendinger and Grala, and then you've got the series regulars mixed in with the fact that if somebody below that cut line does go out and surprises and wins, all of a sudden you've got this crazy battle for that final playoff spot. So a lot of fun stuff to pay attention to for that Truck Series race. To the Xfinity Series, and I'm not going to take AJ Allmendinger for this one. I'm taking Austin Cindric. Okay. Last time at Watkins Glen, Austin Cindric was able to outbattle Allmendinger. Now Allmendinger full-time, everything like that. But I do like Cindric this weekend. I will just add while we're here, I'm very surprised that Kaulig didn't have a Cup Series car for Allmendinger this weekend, just given his success in the Cup Series at this track.
He could be in contention for
that was very strange
if they did.
Yeah, that's very strange to me. But for Xfinity here, I'm going to take Austin Cindric.
Okay, well, I'll take Allmendinger here since you took him for trucks. I'll take him here. Okay. I don't know. I think he's going to be. It's going to be the Cindric and Allmendinger show here. I don't think Ty Gibbs will get into the conversation given that he finished third in the ARCA race earlier. So if he'd won that, you could probably put some consideration to it as well. Quick shout out to Ty Gibbs on securing Sport Clip sponsorship as well. Really desperate need of some sponsorship.
I'm not giving any shout outs to Ty Gibbs at the moment, but
why not?
He's just been a bit of a knob recently.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to make that note because that was an interesting storyline as the season.
I don't think they're hurting for money.
Probably not, but it's good to see that they're giving him a shot there with Sport Clips. But Allmendinger, I don't need to get into that anymore. And I'm not going to give you suspense here for the Cup Series either. I'm going to take Chase Elliott. Please, for the love of God, let this be the place where I can just win a damn fantasy week. My God, I had the lineup I feel like I can win with. I have the race winner pick that I really want. I've got the bonus picks that I want.
To be fair, you have had the race winner pick you've wanted because you've had the first pick the last 12 races as well. So
yeah, I know. Yeah, thanks for that, Kyle. I forgot I'd lost 12 straight weeks. Thanks.
What I'll say is I think that you're going to win this weekend, so I got to get my jabs in while I can.
Yeah, and then it'll be lucky number 13 for you next week. So there we go. But Chase Elliott, clear-cut favorite here this weekend. If he doesn't win, I'm curious to see who will. I would argue it's Kyle Busch to win it. If it's going to be somebody other than him, could potentially be Kyle Larson, but I'd lean definitely Kyle Busch for this one if it's going to be somebody else. But Chase Elliott, it's a no-brainer. I can't let you have him for that extra 5 points for the bonus pick. So go for it. I
was thinking that you were going to go Kyle Busch for that one a little bit.
If I didn't have to worry about trying to win this weekend, I would. If I was like in a fringe situation here with trying to decide which one I would go with, where we're close on points in an overall battle, then I would probably just take the swing on Kyle Busch and see what I could get away with. But I have to try and win a week here. So I can't leave you Chase Elliott. And then that's the reason I lose. Like, it just makes no sense.
I mean, I wouldn't mind it. But I said earlier that Kyle Busch wasn't in my top two. Do you think that was a smoke screen or do you think that was legit?
I don't know. I think you're a pretty straight stand-up guy. So I'd say that was a bit of a truth. I don't know.
Okay. My race winner pick, not having the option for Chase Elliott, who I do think is the favorite going into the weekend, is Kyle Larson. I'm going with the other Hendrick driver for this one. I really was hoping that you weren't going to play him this weekend because I do think that he's that number 2 to Chase Elliott this weekend. I do think that both of those guys have 60-point potential this weekend. So that scares me quite a bit, you having him in the lineup. Hoping the consistency between a Bowman, Chastain could potentially help me out there if something happens to maybe some of the guys that we share. But for Kyle Larson here, Sonoma was so good. And going into Watkins Glen here, again, as you mentioned earlier, it's not like he missed the race last year. He's going in with the same break as everybody else going into this track. So for Larson here, big fan of him on road courses. Previous to this season, he's been able to show the race pace in addition to kind of the short run speed as well. So Larson here, I think Hendrick's going to be the team to beat, and it's going to be because of Elliott and Larson at the front. I do think Kyle Busch will get in that conversation, maybe a little bit less so for like a Logano where Truex just given a little bit of recent form, but I could see Logano maybe getting into that conversation, maybe a surprise driver mixed in as well. But Elliott and Larson, I think, are going to be the two at the front with Busch mixed in a little bit.
Yeah, that's the top 3 for me this weekend. I think Truex just hasn't quite shown it where he can be in that top 3 mix. I think he's an interesting guy. He could be a surprise guy where he falters this weekend. Like it could be where he struggles and they don't quite have the setup for him to compete this weekend and somebody else takes his place up there in that top 5 mix. So he's a bit of a question mark for me this weekend, but with 2 usages left, I just have to play him based off of previous history.
You have to put him in just in case he does do it. But
exactly. But that's the bonus picks and the everything else for our fantasy lineups this weekend. Quickly, Kyle, do you see any changes with somebody falling out of that bubble for the truck series? If somebody has a freak accident, but do you think it's going to basically stay the same?
It's just going to be too hard pressed with the talent in that field that is already locked in or kind of one-off drivers to go out there and be one of those guys below the cut line to go out and surprise and win. I think the most likely to do that is Tyler Ankrum, but even in the ARCA race that he was running as extra, they had issues in that race and weren't able to run the laps that they were hoping to in that one. So for Ankrum, I like his pace on road courses. I think he'll have a strong day. not strong enough to get into the playoffs, though. He's got, I think, 44 points to make up to the cut line there. Stuart Friesen is a solid road course racer as well. They basically, those guys that are above the cut line just need to kind of run their own race, don't need to push it and do anything extra, and they'll basically be safe. And I think that's going to be the plan for those guys above the cut line. Very, very excited for Carson Hostavar, unless something goes drastically wrong and he somehow misses out on the playoffs. It's going to be awesome to see a nice motorsports truck and a young guy like that make the playoffs there. Chandler Smith also making the playoffs there likely. And then Stuart Friesen as well. So it's not the battle that we were maybe hoping for with a Knoxville and Watkins Glen last couple of races in the regular season, but
Knoxville,
anything's possible. Anything's possible. Ankrum can go out when somebody else can go out when there can be a big crash on the opening turn one lap just because nobody knows what to expect there. All of a sudden, a couple of those guys finish with 1 point. Somebody has a good points day and anything can happen. So I don't think it's likely, but anything's possible.
Yeah, definitely. I'm in agreement with you there. I don't honestly want anything to happen here in this final race to jeopardize these guys. Just because they have such a large gap over everybody else, it would feel kind of like, man, you wonder what they could do in the playoffs, because I think they're all a lot of those guys could potentially go to that Final Four and maybe not win the championship, but they could fluke their way into a Final Four appearance, even if they just missed the cut here, because the Truck Series doesn't really have, it's not a large gap in terms of the playoff points that people have. Like second place right now is Ben Rhodes with 21, and then it's 20 points.
It's almost
back
like
to
somebody's
the
going there stealing a bunch of those playoff points.
Love it. Gotta love it. I love it. In his own equipment. Don't you forget that. But it's going to be a fun weekend at Watkins Glen. Just happy that
I'm just pumped to be back at Watkins. Hell, I watched the ARCA race, for crying out loud, and I know it was a better ARCA field because there was like your Ankrams, Briscoes, whoever making that spot start. Herbst was in there, Brandon Jones. Like it was a very fleshed out ARCA field for the first time this year. So that was nice to see. But it's still an ARCA race. And I was watching it because it's Watkins Glen, man. So I'm so pumped for the trucks to be back there for the first time in ages, for NASCAR in general to be back there for the first time in 2 years. One of my favorite tracks, if not my favorite track on the circuit. So pumped for this weekend.
Wow, that's a big statement. I didn't know it was that high on your list, but it's definitely
it's like top 3 minimum.
Yeah, I think I'd have to do a proper list of it. I rank everything else. I'm surprised I don't really have a proper ranking of NASCAR tracks, but one last thing to conclude the episode. It's not on NASCAR. It's going to be the doubleheader on Sunday with IndyCar. The Music City GP is on Sunday to lead it off on NBC. So a big weekend there for motorsports on the Sunday, of course, making its debut. They've had practice earlier today at the time we're recording this, and there were some big incidents. There were some problems for, I believe it was Connor Daly and then Pato O'Ward. They both had issues in practice, resulting in major damage to their cars, which is going to be quite the task for the teams overnight to try and fix those cars. But your expectations coming into this weekend, we've seen the layout a little bit. It's pretty tight. It's a very tricky street course, lots of bumps with the bridge and the transitional pieces there. It's going to be a very, very difficult race on the drivers and their endurance and just their basically their entire practice of just trying to get some results here this weekend at a very difficult track, like I said. So expectations, what are you thinking here coming into this weekend? Your initial thoughts as well on the track at seeing cars on track for the first time?
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. Again, this is a big market that IndyCar is going to. It's a big market for motorsports to potentially break into. Everything looks very good from a fan perspective going into this weekend. Lots of interest in this race. They promoted
the hell out of it.
Yeah. So very much looking forward to this one on Sunday. And I think we're going to get some really, really cool scenic shots and whatnot of the bridge and everything like that. Hope everything is good in terms of safety and everything like that. First time going to a street circuit is always kind of a little bit questionable, but they haven't shied away from putting the money into this circuit as well. The circuit and organizers have paid for certain things to be done to the actual road surface to make it safer for these cars and things like that in terms of transitions on the bridge and stuff like that. So they haven't shied away from the costs or anything like that. It's a very safe circuit, the way that they have things organized. Of course, the bridge and everything like that is always going to be a little bit hairy just because you never know. But I'm excited for this weekend. Colton Herta looks strong in practice. I don't know if that'll translate to the race. I hope Joseph Newgarden does well, just for one, the championship battle, have another guy get up there, but also being his first kind of hometown race as well. So I'm glad we're mentioning it here, because this is going to be a really fun one. And it kind of with this as well, a success in IndyCar here for Nashville will lend more towards Nashville Fairgrounds getting more traction and everything like that. So it's mutually beneficial for everybody in motorsports for this to go well.
Definitely. Lee Diffie will not be on the call because he's in Tokyo right now. So I think Dave Birds is going to be on the call for the IndyCar race this weekend. I don't know if Rick Allen's still in Tokyo for his job, but honestly, hopefully he's not. Or hopefully he is.
I know they're doing the broadcast
radio style,
the radio style. So I don't know if he's back, to be honest. I don't truthfully, obviously we don't have NBC coverage here in Canada for the Olympics and stuff. We have the actually good coverage on CBC where we don't have to wait for it to be broadcast on delay and stuff. We can actually watch the events live. But I don't know what events they were doing, so I don't know if he's back yet.
Who cares? Honestly, it's probably better without him. But I'm looking forward to this week.
If they're doing the radio style.
Okay, we hear less of him. That's true. That's very, it's short in spurts. He has to be very quick with his words. You don't want an
aggressive goes around again?
Oh, buddy, don't even get me started on that call. Oh my God. But yeah, I think that'll do it for today's episode. Good to be
going
back.
Off the rails on sport media stuff at the end of a show. No way.
No way. You don't get into that stuff at all.
Never.
But yeah, like I said, good to be back. It's just welcome to be back at Watkins Glen this weekend and everything. There's just going to be so much fun stuff here. NASCAR going into its final stages of the regular season, so the intensity is bound to wrap up. IndyCar going to a track for the first time in Nashville. So lots of cool things happening this weekend.
So and obviously Saturday is going to be packed with the two NASCAR races as well. But I'd say qualifying for IndyCar as well on Saturday is going to be very, very interesting as well.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to watch much of it on the Saturday this weekend, but I'll try and tune in where I can. But the big one, Sunday ones, those are going to be very, very fun to watch, and we'll see what happens. But make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Green Flag Pod, as well as Twitter at The Green Flag Pod. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. We'd really, really appreciate it. As I prefaced off the top of the show, this has been an incredible couple of months here for us on the channel in terms of growth. So thank you all so much for your support, and we'll continue to keep the content coming for you guys as motorsports comes thick and fast in the final summer months here and into the fall as well. But we'll also leave a link to the NASCAR on TSN Twitter account that'll be in the description as well. So give that a follow for all the Canadian NASCAR fans or even American NASCAR fans. That's going to be some good stuff on my end because, everything I do is spectacular for NASCAR on TSN. I'm just kidding. But it's going to be a fun weekend ahead.
Everything that doesn't involve Kyle Busch is pretty good, I'll say.
Don't tell me that the clip, the fact that I clipped his interview for the New Hampshire one, that wasn't good. Come on, that was good. Come on, that was good stuff.
No, but I'm not going to give you any props. No.
All right, fine. Nope. We'll take that. Just know that when the camera turns off, he's probably going to give me some props. But all righty. But for this episode, I'm Lukas Wacker. He's been Kyle Cushman signing off for now. We will talk to you next week to get you previewed for the Indianapolis road course or maybe our F1 midseason silly predictions. I don't know, but we'll talk to you very, very soon. Enjoy the racing this weekend, everybody.